It's not what I originally wanted to call the company. I originally wanted to call it Brain Mechanics, and I spelled it with an X because the standard spelling was taken. Eventually, I decided it would be too confusing to have two different spellings for the same name. People would just end up at the wrong website. But lots of companies in my industry use brain in their company names, which makes sense because the technology we use, binaural beats audio, changes brain waves. And I thought it was the perfect name for what we're doing, getting in there and tinkering around with the machinery inside the brain. About 10 years ago, I discovered Brain Sync, a company that sells guided meditations enhanced with binaural beats. I'd been meditating for over 30 years, and I've had a wonderful experience meditating. But when I meditated with binaural beats audio, it was like I'd found the turbo switch. Oh, so this is what it's supposed to feel like. So I was disappointed about my company name, but I gave it some thought, and Bliss Mechanics came to me. And I liked it even better because it signifies the union of my love for technology and my love for exploring consciousness. Also, I realized that Bliss Mechanics describes how it makes you feel. The meditative state is blissful, and when you get into that state, your breathing slows down, your heart rate slows down, your thinking slows down, and there are lots of benefits to getting into that state. But the benefit that I'm capitalizing on is that accelerated learning happens in that blissful state. Young children don't have the frequencies of rational thought. Without the filter of rational thought, toddlers may be irrational, but information pours right into their minds. And they need to be that way because they have a lot to learn and they need to learn it quickly. Using slower brainwave states for accelerated learning is how Bliss Mechanics works. Bliss Mechanics solves the problem of how difficult it is to make the changes we want to make. Meditation is part of the solution, but people find meditation too difficult. I've heard many people say, I tried it and I can't do it. My mind just won't slow down. That's where binaural beats audio helps. Simply hearing the audio, your brain follows the frequency. And the guidance in the voice track is the rest of the solution, if you can find the right guidance. 5 years ago, I began developing Bliss Machine, so users can create custom meditation programs. Bliss Machine is a tone generator and an audio mixer. It generates the beat frequencies and lets you mix in whatever music and guidance you want. You can even record your own voice. I created a custom version of Bliss Machine for a company called Sacred Acoustics. They sell CDs and MP3s online, and they wanted to be able to sell their meditations in a mobile app. Dr. Eben Alexander works with Sacred Acoustics. He's the neurosurgeon famous for his near-death experience and the book he wrote about it, Proof of Heaven. Dr. Alexander and the Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell founded Eternia.org to promote the convergence of science and spirituality. And I was recruited into Eternia when I showed them Bliss Machine. The Sacred Acoustics app has been available for iOS and Android for over a year. And now that it's field tested and stable, I'm developing content to sell in my own version of the app, Bliss Mechanics Academy. I'd been going to Dr. Maya Sarkisian for acupuncture treatments. Dr. Maya also practices hypnotherapy, and she was developing a course teaching Qigong, and we decided to publish her course in the academy. But as I was reading a book by Dr. Joseph Mercola, Fat for Fuel, he mentioned that Mercola.com has 15 million visitors a month, and it occurred to me that if I could collaborate with him to create a course based on his book, it would be a big win for everybody. Not only does it help his readers embrace the essence of the book, it's a new source of income for him and a new way for him to promote his book. These book companions are hypnotic cliff notes. Some readers will use them for review, Others will use them to deepen their learning, and for some it may be their introduction to the book, which will lead them to buying the book. Dr. Maya and I just happened to be reading Dave Asprey's book, Headstrong, at the same time, and with that synchronicity, we decided Headstrong would be the first book in our book companion series. We contacted Asprey's company, Bulletproof, and we proposed a revenue share from the sale of the course. They said they could promote it to over 1 million users. So we projected that we would have at least 2 million emails in the promotional campaign with a 2% rate of conversion from email to sales. That would yield 40,000 courses sold. We priced the course at $6, which is about half the price of a typical ebook. So 40,000 units at $6 is $240,000 in gross sales. And after Apple and Google take their 30%, we would net 168,000. With the 50-50 split, the share with Bulletproof and Bliss Mechanics would be $84,000 each. That's found money for the book author and a good start for Bliss Mechanics. I'm planning on creating 10 of these courses in the coming year, and if I can land 3 deals, Bliss Mechanics can net over $250,000, not counting sales from the other courses. Over the next 12 months, it will cost $150,000 to pay for operations, course development, and marketing. 6 months from funding, we'll have more courses in the pipeline, and sales revenue will continue ramping up. After 18 months, the business is self-sustaining. The main thing we need to do now is demonstrate the viability of this business model by creating content and reaching agreements with authors to collaborate. As we gain more traction selling book companions, more publishers will become interested, which will open up more opportunities for publishing content from other authors and more opportunities for licensing the app to publishers. An ideal outcome for us today would be to reach a deal with a book publisher who represents self-help authors to develop 10 book companions with a $150,000 royalty advance and a plan to promote the courses. I have invested a lot of time and money to bring Bliss Mechanics to where it is today. I'm determined to bring Bliss Mechanics to viability. I'm committed to its success because I know its value to everyone seeking help. The more we help people, the more valuable Bliss Mechanics becomes. And so I'm open to questions if there's any. Go ahead.
One, who's your team behind yourself? And then 2, where's the $20,000 monthly fundraising?
Dr. Maya and I are developing content. I have software developers that I'm working with. There's production costs for the courses, studio time for audio, production, post-production.
So there's a team beyond yourself.
Yes. Yep.
What's one of the ways that you can acquire users through email? How are you dealing with GDPR? And also, you mentioned a 2% sales conversion from email.
Yeah.
Slide me. How do you get that?
Well, took a marketing course on online marketing. I've had a couple of them. I've talked to people about it. It may be high. It may be low. It depends on if it's the email from a publisher. It depends on how targeted the email is, how the list is already before it's sent out. So if a publisher, if there's a book that's a bestseller that has 1 million people who sold 1 million copies of the book, then 2% probably could be low. We don't know. I mean, this is new territory. I mean, I think it's to be explored. Yes?
Last question.
Is your product kind of an alternative competitor to use headbands?
It's a possible competitor. I've talked to 3 different people who are developing headsets. And I don't think the Muse does have some binaural beats. They could certainly add them to it. The configurability of my app, I don't think anyone has, where you can bring in your own music, record your own voice. But that's like version 2.0 to be able to work with the headset. All right. Thank you.